Well, welcome to the first ever episode of what we are calling Career Flair. Flair.
Yes.
Are you business ready? And I'm here with Jennifer Ellinger. Jennifer, how did this whole crazy concept start? Where did it begin?
I think it began with lunch.
It did. Don't most things in life that are worthwhile happen in lunch?
I think so.
In person?
Yeah. In person.
Yes.
Just ripping between each other, you know, having some ideas.
You were sharing some things that you were wanting to fix, as in helping students and PhDs and those that are graduate students learn how to graduate into a job.
Yes.
And here I am talking about how entrepreneurship is a way of getting the skills in order to start a business or get hired.
Yeah.
And we were talking about career fairs have their positives and also setbacks.
Yep.
And so we just turned it into a different medium and calling it Career Flair, just to be a little cheeky.
Why not?
Yeah. So what is
Right.
your vision for this podcast as we get it going up and running?
Sure. I think now more than ever, professional development really needs to be encompassed into the educational process, whether it's for undergrads, graduate students. It's not always built into the curriculum, and it truly needs to be, because they need to leave here business ready if that's the direction they're going. And in talking to employers in Orange County and beyond, that's really where the gap is. They're looking for experience, and by being able to provide services through the university, whether it's through workshops, career panels, lunch and learns, company presentations, site visits, anything that is geared toward experiential learning is huge. And I really want to start that initiative, obviously from a graduate student perspective, because that's where I'm housed right now. But I'm always all about the greater good as well.
Now, when you say professional development,
Right.
that's a pretty big, all-encompassing term.
100%.
You broke it down in a few different things, but what does it actually mean? Like, what is the core professional development? Because the challenge I see is the Hollywood conundrum, where you can't get the gig unless you have the experience,
Right.
and you don't have the experience, so you don't have the gig to get the experience.
Right. Absolutely.
So what does that actually look like? In one form here it's a podcast, but how are we helping people professionally develop themselves?
Absolutely. I think it's all about sharing, people's perspectives, their insights. So maybe you're not always going to get to, experience it in live action, but hearing it from someone else at least give you some inspiration, I think.
What of their career trajectory, or of what it is in real life, of how the work environment is? Like narrowing it down to, is it just all kinds of things?
Yeah, I think it's an assortment, right? You can start with the job search strategy.
Okay.
You can start with understanding how to build a solid resume and cover letter. How do I make my LinkedIn page attractive? ATS is now screening LinkedIn's, profiles to check for, whether you'd be a good fit or not within the corporation. Networking is huge. Anytime I meet a new student, I tell them that's the most important part of your role here while you're here in school, is to network and meet people and make connections organically.
Now, why would you say networking is so crucial for college students in particular, whether they're entrepreneurs or whether they're looking for a job?
Yeah.
If you had to reach across and just say, listen, you need this because, what would the top 3 reasons be that you need to network?
Sure. I think connections are important, not only to build a community around yourself for like mentor opportunities. I also think that, you're one in a million trillion people, and you're applying for this job and you're a needle in the haystack.
Right.
Why not set yourself apart from the masses?
And if you know someone connected to that job opportunity, that's a way to pull the needle out of the haystack.
100%. And I've seen it happen. We have proven results of holding career mixers where our students are able to connect with people organically, build these relationships with them, and then reach out to them and say, I just wanted to let you know I threw my name in the hat for XYZ job with, any suggestions. And our alumni especially are always there to help our current students.
But networking is scary.
It can be, absolutely. But think of it as a conversation, just 2 people sharing information about each other.
In a room of 100.
In a room of 100. But go to a corner if you need to. I have seen that, actually. We've been hosting quarterly career mixers for our PhDs and master students on an ongoing basis. I think we've had 3 iterations at this point. And now they're becoming more comfortable. So it's putting yourself in that environment, whether it's a organized networking session, or maybe it's just joining a club or an organization and showing up and getting to know people. And it doesn't always have to be, my name is Joe Smith and I work in so-and-so's lab. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about, what do you like to do? Do you like to surf?
People love to talk about not business in business context.
100%. They genuinely want to get to know you. And by doing that, you're just, you're building that organic connection and people will think of you when things come up. So I think it needs to happen naturally and not forced.
Yeah, but you do kind of have to force yourself to get out there so that you can see them.
You do.
I do know that entrepreneurship means really getting outside of the office, get out off the computer and meeting people. There's nothing more powerful than that personal connection. Mm-hmm. And you never know where that loose connection goes.
100%. You could be sitting on a plane.
Yes.
And just striking up a conversation. I've had this happen, where you just find some similarities. You know people, the same people. Or maybe you're just sharing something that lights you up. Maybe your research truly does light you up, and that person's going to think of you.
Yeah.
When they're talking to someone else, and then that news is going to spread, and good things can happen that way.
But how many people just sit next to somebody they don't know and don't say anything?
Oh my gosh, it's got to be the majority.
Yeah. So the trick is to go first.
Yes.
If you go first, it makes it easier for somebody to go second. And the thing is, we're, I believe, in a day and age where if you're sitting next to someone or the world provides a situation where you're in proximity, and if you say hello and ask them some sort of subtle question or start a conversation, I think very rarely are they going to look at you, hiss, and run away.
100%. And it could just start with a smile.
Right.
I think so often we don't even smile. We just sit there,
People walking by all the time, I'm looking for the eye contact, ready to say ahoy, but sometimes it just, you can still say it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, a lot of people are walking around with their AirPods in or their headsets on, and it's hard to engage. I see it at the gym, where you could maybe meet people at the gym before. Now everybody's in their zone.
So what do you do in that situation? What if I listen to this podcast and like, Jennifer and Ryan said I need to start. I'm ready. I'm putting myself out there, but nobody else seems to let me start.
Right. Yeah. I think you just have to look for an open opportunity or just take one. I could be on the treadmill next to someone and I could tap them and be like, hey, I really like those shoes. Where'd you get those?
Starting with a compliment.
Yes,
that's always good.
right?
People love compliments.
Absolutely.
Nice watch. Where'd you get that? Nice shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely. People love, to be flattered, right?
And they love to answer questions. From a very early age, we are really ingrained that if somebody asks you a question, it's rude to not answer.
100%.
And so in sales, and I love sales, there's all kinds of, strategy around sales that can help with networking and with professional development. But in a conversation, usually the person who's asking the questions has a bit of control over it. And so don't be afraid of asking questions and have go-to questions that you might ask to help tease out a conversation.
Absolutely. And that can be done with LinkedIn connections, by the way. That can be done on a cover letter, reading someone's article or, reading some research that they've done.
Yeah, they're putting the effort into it. And all it takes is hey, I really enjoyed that.
Right.
Or you could share it and you could tag them. There's
100%.
so many ways to make that initial connection. But it's also a numbers game.
Yeah.
And it happens over time. You can't download relationships. You can't download trust, but you can start conversations. And one of the biggest opportunities for startups is to keep people updated. It's an idiom that I think is true. If you go and ask for money, you're going to get advice. If you ask for advice, you might get money eventually. But if you're looking to raise money, you should have started 12 months ago.
100%.
By meeting people and then keeping them updated with your progress. And there's no harm in an update. And it actually helps people feel like they're part of your story as opposed to somebody who's being used for a connection.
I agree.
Right?
We have a graduate student that I've known since, I've been here for over 3 years now. And he sends out quarterly emails.
Brilliant.
And they are so engaging. And I look forward to them now.
You don't get upset when you see them.
Not at all. It's not like just another piece of email. I truly love reading that. It's like receiving that Christmas card, that annual Christmas card where they share the family story. We went on this vacation. So-and-so's graduated. You like to hear those updates because, that's just being a human. You're curious.
But I bet it was not easy for him or her to do the first one or the second one because you're pushing to people's inboxes, and it's it's scary until you're used to it, and then it becomes second nature. And I think a lot of these tools that you teach and a lot of the know-how that fits under this professional development, it's always new at first, and it's awkward at first. But with practice over time, you can get better, and then you get comfortable, and then you find the excitement in it, and then it just takes off from there. But you have to start. Now, for some people, they are just afraid that they're going to do it wrong. So can we share some of the reasons that somebody would be doing this wrong? Is there a wrong way to network? Do you see common mistakes as people are early in their career and maybe not business ready? Obviously, the biggest mistake is not going out, not showing up, not going first. But you've dealt with so many students and professionals in this trajectory where you have to build those skills. What are they doing wrong? Or is it as simple as you can't do it wrong?
I think you can do some things wrong.
Okay.
I mean, you really can't screw it up. I mean, if you're truly out there to build the relationships and, and you genuinely have an interest in the other person.
Right.
I think sometimes where people run into maybe a roadblock or feel defeated is because they haven't built the relationship before they ask for a withdrawal. I always tell our students that you need to
Wait,
make
did you say ask for a withdrawal?
Yes.
Okay.
So I use that analogy.
Yeah.
I use the analogy that you have to make a few deposits before you can ask for a withdrawal. And those deposits are, lighting that other person up, right? Saying that you like their work or giving them a compliment like we talked about.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you have that connection. A
little bit of equity in the conversation or in the relationship.
And that person knows you and they trust you. And they're more likely to help you. So if you do say, I just submitted my resume to your company, what do you think? They'd be more likely to say, oh, let me call the hiring manager. I know them. I have coffee with them on Tuesdays or whatever it is. I think that's one big mistake. You can't just connect with someone like on LinkedIn or even in a in-person mixer and then hit them up for a job.
Right. It's like asking for someone's hand in marriage the first time you meet them.
Right. You don't know them. You got to get to know them, right? And they got to get to know you. So I think that's probably the most common mistake. And I think that mistake is made because they're waiting too long.
Right.
Students are waiting too long to start that networking process. They get to the end of their degree and they have that, oh my gosh moment where I'm about to defend or I'm about to graduate and I don't have any connections and Uncle Larry isn't hiring. So what do I do?
Right.
And so by starting the second you set your foot on campus and joining those groups and volunteering in the community, we have such a diversified community around us in Irvine.
We do.
There are churches, there are, philanthropic organizations, aplenty around here. There's plenty of opportunities to show up and contribute to the community.
I think most of if not all of the fraternities and sororities, part of their chapter is community service and them getting
and
out
philanthropy.
There. Yes.
So get involved. If you're not a sorority or fraternity person, there's plenty of organizations and clubs, or create your own.
Right.
If you see some empty space, I know a girl who once created a hummus club.
A hummus club.
A hummus club. You just had to bring hummus and chips every time, and it was such a fun club.
Right.
So those weird ideas that you might have, somebody would be happy to show up, and then you just create your own community that way.
All right. So I hear that a mistake is that you ask before you give enough, and I've heard the phrase give, ask.
Mm-hmm.
So if you mess up that timing, the other thing is that it's a mistake to not start as soon as you can, and that sort of ties into those. What would round up the top three of the potential beginner early move mistakes that people make that might leave a bad taste in their mouth and they maybe just now retreat from it?
Yeah, I could see someone who's maybe more introverted, a little concerned about starting that conversation. I could see where they would have anxiety and feel uncomfortable with the situation. And so maybe they invite a roommate or a person, from class. Bring a friend. It's if you
bring a buddy. So
bring
instead,
a buddy. Have a buddy system.
The mistake would be not going out because you don't feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. The solution would be find someone you're comfortable with to go out. Because otherwise, if you're just stuck behind the computer or you don't leave the house, none of this networking happens.
Right.
Well, in person.
Yeah, in person. And there's ways to kind of set the tone to make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable. We have something we call pre-networking.
Okay.
And so let's say you're going to a conference or you're going to a meeting or a workshop and you know others are going to be there. And you can do this with your peers, or you could do this with folks that you want to meet that are in industry or, in an entrepreneurial perspective, right?
Yes.
Anywhere you go from a social perspective. So if you reach out to them in advance and say, hi, I see that you're going to XYZ event. I'd love to connect while we're there. Most likely they're going to reach out because maybe they're feeling, a little nervous about showing up and not having anyone to talk to.
Right.
And then, when you show up, you'll have someone to look for, to approach and say, hi, we connected on LinkedIn or we connected over email. It's so nice to meet you in person. And try it with your peers first, because I think maybe that's like a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And you're not really putting yourself out there
The
as much.
stakes are way lower.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would recommend pre-networking, because then it just sets you up for, like, I know I have someone to look for when I get there.
Right. Well, this is good. I feel like this is a taste of what people are going to have in the Career Flair Are You Business Ready podcast.
I would agree. I think it's going to rock.
Now, who do you think the target market is? Who should the listener be? Because it's important that we're speaking directly to that audience. But is this also good for employers to get an insight into how they can best cater to individuals who are coming up and being professionally developed? But who do we want to target here?
Yeah. During lunch, you and I talked about something, and one of the statements you made is we got to meet them where they're at, right?
Yes.
And I think in a lot of cases, this obviously is geared toward the students
Yep.
across campus, both graduate,
Graduate, yep.
everyone. Alumni even.
Recent
if they wanted
alumni,
to. Yes,
because-
recent alumni. There's
yes.
many alumni that are still struggling to find a career path, right?
And for those students who are stressed about getting their first job, just wait until you need your third or fourth job, or until something happens that's beyond your control and now you're back onto the marketplace. So yes, undergraduates, graduates, recent alum,
Mm-hmm.
part of that fam.
But then when you go to the employer side, I think it's great to meet them where they're at. What are you seeing? Where's the white space? What are the gaps that you're seeing? And how can you help us help our students to be ready? Because all these students are in Orange County, and there are so many organizations out in Orange County that are toting that they want to keep the, talent.
Hire them here, yeah.
Hire them here.
Hire local.
Yes, keep the talent in Orange County.
Hire local, think global.
Yes. But let's help each other do that, right? Because these students are hungry for information. They're brilliant, and they have many transferable skills. And so how can we share with employers that we have this talent pipeline right here? What can you do to help us develop it?
And asking them firsthand, like, what are the things that you're looking for? What are the skills that you're after?
Mm-hmm.
And I can see how other businesses can learn from that as well, just to be up to speed so that we're all meeting everybody in the middle.
Absolutely.
What's the song? It's to meet you halfway, and
Yeah.
right on the borderline is where the career stays. I don't know. But I love this. And Flair, we were discussing between FLAIR and FLARE.
We were.
And we've gone with the former.
We have.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact definition, but I believe it was
I think it's more like your sparkle.
Yeah, a
show
little bit of
your-
flair.
Yeah, show your flair.
instead of like Flair coming off of a rocket.
Right.
Right? Like there's still this propulsion. But I think it's important because there's no one model to be you.
Right.
And everyone is so different. And I literally wrote the book on it. It's to ditch the act and to be yourself is the way that you stand out, because if everyone was a needle in the haystack, no one would be found. So like maybe you're not a needle. Like figure out what you are. And I think part of my goal for this podcast is to empower people knowing that they don't have to follow in the exact same lockstep. What makes them unique is their experience, is the startup that they wanted to do, or the research that they've done, or their quirkiness, or whatever it is that makes you a little bit different. Because
Right.
I believe so many people act as if or fake it till they make it, and it just makes you blend in that much more.
Yeah. And
It's-
I think to that point, I think it's really important to start off also when you get here is like a strengths journey. What are my strengths? What are my superpowers?
Yeah.
What do I love? What lights me up? And how can I, obviously for undergrads, you got to do the general courses right before you get to the major. But what lights me up? Where do I want to go? And who do I want to start talking to now? Who do I want to explore with? And I think everyone's going to go on their own path.
And this is the time to do it. College
Absolutely.
is all about exploration, because once you graduate college, people are going to expect that you've got that kind of figured out.
Yes.
And for my juniors and seniors who wait till the last minute to walk into the Career Center, like,
Yeah.
hopefully you've been listening to this podcast before and gets you in there a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for this to really create ties across the different places on campus. We're going to have some people from the Career Center.
We are.
We're going to have people from industry. We should bring some students on,
Absolutely.
people who are good at networking and people who are fearful,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll get them warmed up.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Get some professors in here.
Let's do it.
Let's get some, who else should we get in here? Let's get some like top, like, I know students like top-notch companies, right? They all
do.
want to work for the FANG, although is it Mang now because it's Meta?
I don't know.
So do you know about FANG? Right?
No, share
So-
that.
So students want to work for FANG companies. It's a big acronym. It's
Okay.
Facebook, Amazon, what is the N? I don't know if N is, it can't be Netflix, something, and then,
NVIDIA.
maybe NVIDIA, and then Google. It's like
Yeah,
all these
okay.
big tech companies.
Okay, I get that.
But now Facebook is Meta.
Meta.
So instead of
that's
FANG,
Mang.
it's Mang,
Yeah.
right? So all these Mang companies.
You know, I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
Because I understand wanting to work for a big corporation, and I've worked for very large corporations. And I've also worked for some startups as a consultant.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share with you that if you go and work for a big corporation, you're going to be sitting at a cubicle.
Cubicle. Oh, cubicles
You're-
are miserable.
Yeah. And you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again every single day.
Yes.
And you're just going to master that thing, whatever it is. When you work for a smaller company,
Startup.
or startup company, or you create your own thing, you're doing everything.
Right.
You are
Multiple
a
hats.
CEO. You are a COO. You are a chief innovation officer. You're everything. And by doing that, you're expanding your knowledge and applying your transferable skills in so many more ways than you would if you were stuck at a Mang.
Yeah. And imagine the opportunity for upward mobility if you're in a small company that's growing versus a massive company that, if anything, might be shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is students are drawn to these large companies, and we're here to fight that stigma, to let them know that there are some very large, privately held, very large startup companies. I mean,
Yeah.
startup is a term that it's hard to define because there are, I mean, technically, Amazon is consistently a startup.
Absolutely.
Like,
They keep
so
starting different
They
things.
keep starting and failing at all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I think that having an open mind to what the path may become is part of being business ready.
I
It's
would
part
agree.
of your career flares, not just getting locked into one. You know, it's like putting all of your eggs into one basket. And I think that I've met individuals who chase after, say, that consulting job
Mm.
where they want for the big four. And I had a college roommate who, like, that was it, just eyes on it. And he got the job and he made a bunch of money, but he also spent a bunch of money and burnt out and now is doing something completely different. So there's so much pressure from our parents and from society. And I think this is the time where you can explore and expand. And that could even come in the form of a micro internship.
Absolutely.
Because why not try out these different skills to see whether you like them or not?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if you're going to like sales unless you try it, right?
Absolutely.
You don't know if you're going to like HR unless you try it. They're different strokes for different folks. And I think
Absolutely.
we're here to do that. I bet you we can bring on some of these companies, startups to big ups,
Mm-hmm.
and convince them to throw micro internships out on the table so that when we launch the podcast episodes, there's not only listen to this information, but listen to this company who is now going to try to hire you. And then we just get students hired, we get them in the system, and then we'll get the students back on the podcast to share their experience with it and what they
Yes.
learned. And this is going to be
Full
crazy.
circle. I
Full
love
circle.
it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I opened up the show and I'll let you close down the show because
Oh,
we're going to
boy.
have multiple hosts.
That's big
So-
pressure right now.
No, not big pressure. So just I'll do sort of the recap, but
Okay.
then you can go to, I always like to say, if this is the first time you've heard this podcast, hopefully it's not the last.
Okay.
Some sort of cheesy intro there.
Okay.
And then let them know what they can expect in further episodes.
Got it.
So, just kind of what we already talked about. Tell them to connect with us on social media and to look for that. And you can also say you can find us wherever you like to listen to your podcast. And then maybe close with, if you have a guest or a company recommendation, go ahead and reach out.
Okay.
All right, so I'll
Oh,
do the
boy.
close of it. Well, Jennifer, this has been an amazing first episode, and I believe it was strong enough that it should be the first episode
All right.
because it's organic. We're talking about what's
it
happening.
is.
We've
We're
set the
We're
tone.
riffing here about what's reality, right?
Yes,
We're
a
bringing
reality
something.
riff, and we
Yes.
are helping people find their flair, their career flair, so that they're business ready.
Yeah.
And today we talked about putting yourself out there, going first, and knowing that it takes a few steps before you get comfortable. And I think that is probably going to be the theme throughout this entire podcast.
I'd like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great direction to head.
All right, now close it down.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
If this is the first time you've listened to the Career Flair,
If this is the first time you've listened to the Career Flair, we hope you'll return next time. We aim to bring on many special guests, from folks that you can rely on campus, your campus partners, to business leaders, alumni, early career folks, and our current students. And we hope to learn about what it takes to move from academia to industry, or from academia to entrepreneurship. And let's explore those career pathways together, and then let's get you there. Let's get you noticed and hired.
boom, that was great. Now mention something about finding us and connecting on social media, and then we're so close.
Okay, come find us and connect with us on social media, and feel free to watch this or listen to it on your favorite channels.
Sweet. And then that's where we'll have our outro music, and it's probably starting to play in the background. And the big shout out to Austin, who's producing this show.
He's
and
so rad, and then he's going to go fly helicopters.
Yes, and we're recording here at the Entrepreneur Center podcast room here at UCI. So let's do this. The Career Flair, Are You Business Ready podcast has officially launched.
Take one.
Boom.